All right, we're close to the opening of the 2023 season for the Dolphins. It's a big season, we all know. Chargers, we're going to go face them across the country. Big time game. We lost there last year. Some people say it's a must win. Other people say it's a critical game. Every win on the schedule is big. So however you slice it, it's a big deal if we win. And it's not so hot if we lose. Now, what I do here, and it was when I first started this thing, I wanted to be accurate and realistic. And so sometimes in a world of coverage where it's they're the greatest of all time or they're the worst of all time, sometimes it can come off, and sometimes I don't help that as being pessimistic or down on the Dolphins' chances. But I do like to be realistic. I do believe the offensive line is critical. It is the foundation. But whether Tehran plays or not on Sunday, whether this offensive line is hot to trot or not on Sunday, the Dolphins can win. And I'm not saying like, a shot at the moon or something like that. There are plenty of ways where this team in different areas can rally up and support a missing Tehran or an offensive line that's not so hot. So I'm going to go over realistic top 5 ways and how the Dolphins can beat the Chargers. I'm going to use graphics to kind of show some stark stuff from last year's game. And it's not just about the game itself, because there's a lot of difference between last year and this year. But a lot of the stuff you saw in that Chargers game was symptomatic of issues we had during the season. And if the Dolphins can correct this stuff, they will go a long way to having a very good shot of beating these Chargers. Now, I don't know how many of these top 5 need to be done in order for us to get that. They could do none of these, and the Chargers could cough up the ball 4 or 5 times and have 10 penalties, and we walk away laughing. Football is weird like that. It's the most complicated sport, and there's no way to pin things down to this or that. It's about hedging your bets and getting better odds. Now, I want to lay something out quick before I get into the top 5. In combat, in war, you have the strategic decisions. This country needs oil to fight their war. Let's take the oil from them and cut off their ability to wage war. That's strategic. That's the highest level. Then you have operational. Hey, this whole string of ports over here, if we could take them out, they can't get their subs out to mess with our fleets. Let's get that. It's a large-scale battle set of operations. And then you have the tactical. Well, if this guy kicks in the door, the next guy comes in with a shotgun, and he's the one who handles anything that's in front of us to clear it out, or whatever. You got the whole idea. So there's 3 levels. And in a football sense, the strategic is we're going against the best run defense in the league. And I'm not saying it's the Chargers, but, how are we going to handle that? What's our overall concept and ideas? The philosophy which we're going to move our team in this game. Then the operational is, hey, what's those opening plays? What's the concept that we want to do? We're going to run the football more. We're going to throw a lot of screens because they like the blitz. And then there's the tactical. Okay, here we go. It's 2nd and 3. They suffer inside in the run game. Let's run that ball because we need to keep the clock going because we're losing on time possession. So it breaks down to smaller and smaller choices, but it all starts at the strategic level. And so what I'm going to deal with for the most part is strategic and operational. And it's going to be very, very clear. Now, one last little bit to kind of keep this clear. Dan Marino went to 1 Super Bowl. If you're a longtime Dolphins fan, you know Dan Marino. You love Dan Marino. If you're not, haven't seen him, you still know about him because you're a Dolphins fan. He went to the Super Bowl, and his stats were 29 of 50, 58% completion, 318 yards, 4 sacks, 1 touchdown, 2 ints, and he lost big time. So you would say he sucked, he laid an egg, especially when you compare him to Montana, who was 24 of 35, 68.5 completion percentage, 335 yards, 1 sack, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Clearly, Montana's the better quarterback, and Dan Marino just can't shine on the big stage. But if you remember the game and you were there, you have to look at a second series. Dolphins ran the ball 8 times for 25 yards. Montana had 40 carries for 211 yards. If you understand on the operational strategic level, the San Fran said, hey, we don't fear this running attack. We'll put 3 down linemen, 1 linebacker, and 7 DBs. And it forced Dan Marino to struggle. So when they came in from the strategic level, they had an advantage. And it really was the major reason why Dan Marino did not shine. And so we have to take these as realities. It's very easy to say, oh, well, Tua sucks and Herbert's the better quarterback. But right here, we all know, even Montana spoke just the other day about how awesome Marino was. And so that's why these top 5 reasons, I do believe, are going to be obvious. I'm going to use graphics, and you're going to see some stark stuff that if McDaniel and Fangio do their job at the strategic and operational level, there is still a very good chance we can win. So before I get into the last part of the top 5, I don't want to break my flow. So I want to say, guys, the likes, the subscribes, the views, the subs, the comments, all that stuff is the fuel to make the channel go. So please keep that up. And if you're not, comment. I love the comments. Sub. And if you sub, hit the notification bell so you get the ring-a-ling when I do my thing-a-ling over here. Got it, guys? I appreciate it all. I want to give you a shout out. Shout out to Ace Per Head, because without the 2 of you, this show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. All right, so a run game is critical. It's number 5. I put it up there because there's going to be a little flow chart here, but take a look at this graphic right here, and you can see the Dolphins' day against the Chargers. Chargers were a terrible run defense last year. I bet they get better because guys weren't in the game that are stars, but I don't expect them to be top of the line. But you can see here, you look on the left direction, DIR, and you see in that red box, we ran off left guard, 1 carry for 20 yards. We ran between the middle left, between the guard and the center, 4 times for 19 yards, or 4.8 yards per carry. Middle right, 4 times, but only 0.3. And then off the right guard, 3 times for 19 at 6.3. Quarterback scrambles bought us another 28 for 9.3, a total of 4.8 on the day for 92 yards with 5 first downs and 3 10 yards plus carries. And you see in the green box, those are the green box, and the last green box, 6 missed tackles. They were forced. And so you got to ask yourself, why didn't we run more to open up the game? McDaniel has a tendency to run play action and go vertical early and then slowly begin to implement his run game. Against the Browns, we did the opposite and we blew the doors off them. So the decision to run the football and stick with it, if you look at the Chargers, they ran 22 times, averaged 3 yards per carry against the 6th best run defense in the league, but they stuck with it. And on a operational level and a philosophical level, it did a lot of stuff, and I'm going to show that next. Dolphins, especially if you've got Connor and Hunt are your strong points if Tehran's not in, and Wynn, although I don't like him drive blocking, he has the ability to peel off, get to that second level, and shield guys. So those 3 in combo are going to be our strongest suit to make that run happen, and the Chargers are their weakest in their interior run defense. And if you saw some of my coverage of Mostert in my top 5 plays from a couple of weeks ago, he has the ability to make those shortcuts to kind of lift this offensive line up. He gets guys flowing, and he's smart enough to cut back against the grain just a little bit, and then he pops it with his speed and his strength. So I do see this as a viable option to really make the Chargers pull their hair out and then open up the other things so they can't clog the center. Diversity of offense is so critical. When you're a DC, you know tendencies. It's like cards. When you're playing cards, if you know a guy's got a certain teller, he likes a certain thing, it adds the odds into your favor, and that's really all it is. When a DC knows a guy's tendencies and they have a tendency not to attack the entire field, it gets easier to make your play calls and for a defense to kind of say, we're not going to pay attention to that. We're going to pay attention to this. So you can see this little graph here for passing direction. This was the Dolphins versus the Chargers. The red big boxes were areas that we did not test. The purple boxes is where we had success. And then the yellow boxes is where we had lower than expected results. And you can see clearly that we had a lot of success in 10 yards or less, 2 for 4 in the middle, 3 for 4 to the right, but we never tested the short left. We were 2 for 6 over the middle because they were clogging those lanes, but we did not test the left side really except for deep where we were 0 for 3. We didn't test the medium right where we didn't even look that way, but we had 7 attempts deep, 1 for 2, which was a touchdown a hill. But then you look at the short. We really didn't test the full area of the field. And this makes it a lot easier. If you go look at a difference between what Staley called, you could see here that the Chargers attacked every single zone. And for the most part, they had some success, if not good success. They understood there was pressure and they hit the short 10 or to 0 to the LOS a ton, 6 for 7, 6 for 7, 5 for 5. And then you go to the next level, the 10 to 20, 4 for 4, 1 for 3, and 1 for 2. This is great success. It lends strength towards the offense. It allows the quarterback to get in rhythm. It keeps you on schedule, and it gives the defense and the DC tons, everything to keep their eye on. And if the Dolphins want to win, they cannot pigeonhole their attacks. Quality small ball. I don't understand why, when you got Hill, Waddle, and now Berrios, that we don't have route combinations that are attacking short areas, that we're not just getting the ball out to these guys and letting them make something happen. We spend way too much time attacking deep. You can see in a graphic I used last time right here, intended air yards, 11.9. That's nuts. When you got 21.2% pressure rate, why on earth are you going so vertical with no run support? I mean, very marginal run support. Quarter air yards, 7.2. We drive too much on the deep ball and the big play. And this is where McDaniel can show his caliber of being an OC and growth from last year to this year. We know we can go deep. We know we're one big play from making it happen. But the ability to be patient with that run game for the small ball, as well as getting smaller plays out into the flats, over the middle, nice route combinations where there are small rubs, making the easy plays happen and letting your studs do something is key. Again, intended air yards for the Chargers, 5.3, quarter air yards, 3.8. This is going to be a major key to, for me, the growth of McDaniel from last year to this year. Stay on schedule. The hardest thing for an offense is when they get off schedule and they got 3rd and long. The defense understands what you're doing. It's so easy for them to guard that deep. It is very difficult to complete 3rd and longs. All day long, the Dolphins were in 3rd and long. I did a calculation on my own. It was a little bit off. I'm going to give you the accurate and then mine. But if you look, Miami was 3 for 11 on 3rd downs, and they had 10.9 yards on 3rd down to go. Some of that was penalties, but much of it was poor first down calls, poor second down calls. We only had 11, but if you look at the Chargers, they went 9 for 18 at 7.245 yards to go on 3rd down. That's almost a 3-yard difference. It's a big, big difference. And then they also had 7 more 3rd down conversions, and that meant time of possession. The ability to be successful on first down, to get a two-way go on second down, puts the defense on their heels, makes that conversion, that first down conversion easier, and then it keeps your defense on the field and their defense, keeps your defense off the field and their defense on the field. Now, time of possession was critical. We had it 20 minutes. They had it 39 minutes. It was like 20.22 and it was like 39.40 something. But essentially 20 to 39. That's almost double. You cannot have a defense on the field all day, especially now that we're running zone. When you run a lot of man and heavy blitzing, you get off the field quick because you make a big play. We're a bend but don't break kind of defense, which means we're going to be on the field a little more. It's going to be paramount for our offense to have ball control, to have longer drives, or these guys are going to be on the field way too long. And so this small ball, staying on schedule, running inside, and diversity of looks, meaning under center, in the pistol, in the shotgun, and passing and running from each one of them gives more for these guys to digest, and it will give more for the preceding weeks to digest when they're trying to prep for us. We pigeonhole ourselves too much, and it inhibits us. So this will be a huge key, but all the preceding things I talked about will evolve and develop this key aspect. Third down defense. I already talked about it. We were 3 for 11, and that was because we were all scheduled, and they had 7.45 and were 9 for 18, 50%. Now, our pass defense is got to get better. We won one of the worst in the league. I do believe, even without Ramsey and some question marks at safety and some question marks at corner, we're going to do substantially better in our pass defense. I believe that we're going to do substantially better in our third down defense. And to me, this is one of the most absolute definites for improvement for our rematch against the Chargers. We were terrible, but we blitzed. It was like 26 out of 51 plays. And when you blitz, you get the big play, but it opens stuff up. Fangio's going to call a lot less man, call a lot less blitzes, and it's going to demand a little bit more from Herbert not to get those easy throws. And when he throws short, guys in the zone are going to be able to attack, and they're going to have to make those tackles. But if they do, it's going to limit some of the big plays. Williams had a couple big plays. There was a couple big runs. And unfortunately, Herbert's movement skills is the wild card in all this. Because when you bring 4, if you don't hold contain, he can escape. But ultimately, I think this is something we're definitely going to see, and it's going to give us a huge opportunity to win this. I believe this defense, this third down defense, and this pass defense will take a step forward. Now, so wrapping it all up, this is why I think even without Tehran, you can run those zone stretches, bring it back, and let them think you're going to the edge, but still attack the center. You could still do that. You could still add more inside zone. You got Ingold. You got Hill now, who maybe could block and Smythe. There's things we could do to be patient. Being patient is the key for McDaniel. He's shown to be very, very, very impatient. And a lot of it is expressed through his going on fourth down. He's got to grow in several areas, but it's not like it's impossible. So McDaniel taking the reins, being the guy we believed he could be, or some believed he could be, is going to be a huge difference and can mitigate the time it takes for Tehran to get back or this offensive line. Ultimately, the offensive line will be critical. There'll be certain points in bad weather games where you're going to have to run the football, and running talent's going to be key, or you're going to go against a good offense that has a good defense, and it's going to be very difficult when you're one-dimensional. But for the most part, we have what it takes, but it's going to come to the discipline. Last year we had 6 penalties. They had 6 penalties. There was no turnovers. It really came down to strategic and operational choices of McDaniel and a poor third down defense, pass defense, but that should be better. So overall, I do believe it's going to be a tough game. I believe with Tehran It's going to be hard. There's, you got to remember, they didn't have Bosa last year. They didn't have, what's his name? Derwin James. James Jr., I guess, safety. I'm camera freeze here for a second. They didn't have Slater. Their offensive line was beat up. So there was things, and I thought we had Little last year. It was Little in the San Fran game, but it was Tehran in the Charger game. So we missed a few pieces, but they missed a lot. But I do believe McDaniel can show himself to be the guy we need by taking care of these choices. And if he does grow in this area, and we do lose a close one, it's going to bode well for the future. And this is a long haul season, and that is my hope. I love us to win, but if we can grow in our weaknesses and show hope and a rise in the most critical things of strategic and operational choices, I think we have a good season on our hands. But we shall see. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. This is Kurt saying thanks for stopping by. Catch you next time. Be well. Go Fins. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.